Well, I never expected this. Hey everybody, it's Get2, and welcome back to the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. Last time we went around town investigating anything that we could in preparation for our case for our new client, and we are back here at the Old Bailey, ready to defend him with a receipt from a bookshop. That is actually the only meaningful piece of evidence that we have, but that's okay. Who'd have thought we'd be back here again so soon? We are on study tour of Great Britain with the intention of learning the country's legal practices. In order to research the latest court procedures here, we need as much court experience as possible. Well, yes, I suppose that's true, but the person in the dock, it may well be his or her and only time in court, and it could be life-changing. In which case, treating it as research may seem a little crass. Oh, when you put it like that, you're quite right. Good morning! Oh god, his eyes look bloodshot. Seriously. Ah, Mr. Natsume, good morning. You need some sleep. Oh dear, are you alright? Your eyes are terribly bloodshot. Okay, thank you. The early bird catches the worm, as they say here in Britain. Yes, I've heard the expression. But I really don't want to catch a worm. So I tried desperately not to wake up early, but I was too worried, so I couldn't catch a wink. And now I'm absolutely exhausted as a result. Do all literary people take things so literally? Thank you for putting your faith in us today, Mr. Natsume. I wish I had 9 lives. My whole future hangs in the balance. I'm too terrified to tremble. Hasn't stopped you yet. Really? Because I can feel the tremors in the floor. I can't do this. I can't take it. Although, look at Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. Yes? I caught a glimpse of the public gallery as I walked by the courtroom. It looked like the opening night of the opera. There's so many people. I had no idea my case is such a notorious affair here in London. Oh, neither did I. Do you know why that might be, Mrs. Otto? I'm sorry, Mr. Naruhodo, but I have no idea. So that all-knowing look on your face is just coincidence then, is it? Don't hide the truth from me! It's because of the Reaper, isn't it? Lord Van Zeeks? Is that right, Mrs. Otto? I purchased as many different newspapers as I could find this morning, and yes, Lord Van Zeeks is on the front page of every one. I knew it! Sometime after the prosecutor was dubbed the Reaper of the Bailey, he stopped appearing in court, it seems. It's been several years now, in fact, until the day before yesterday. Yes, Peter Gregson told us something similar, didn't he? The trial 2 days ago marked Lord Van Zeek's return to the courtroom after a very long hiatus. The trial of Madness McGilded. Ugh, what a harrowing experience that was. I believe that appearance made even greater waves here in the capital than today's. We wouldn't have realized, of course, having only just arrived in the country. Why is the Reaper back in the Bailey so soon, for what appears to be a mundane murder? That's the question the papers are asking. And they all speculating various answers. Mundane? Mundane? It's the most significant saga of the century to some of us. Oh dear, I meant no offense, Mr. Natsume, but that is how the papers are describing it. Well, at least we also forget the fact that it could spark an international incident. Obviously, the reappearance of this infamous prosecutor has caught people's attention. But there's another blatant similarity with the trial of 2 days ago. Yes, I agree. Welcome to Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. It's you! Me? Well, I suppose that's true. Both times, it is you who stands against this legendary prosecutor. It can only mean that you're friends with the Reaper! Please, I don't rub shoulders with Deathbringers. I'm afraid that there is really only one other explanation. It can only be another example, Mr. Naruhodo, of your uncommon bad luck. Thanks for that. Oh, this is just my luck. Why must I be represented by a man with such frail fortune? Look who's talking. By the least lucky lawyer alive! Well, let's not forget that it was you, Mr. Natsume, who asked me to represent you. Yes, it's true that I'm just a student, new to London with little in the way of experience or skills, or luck. But I promise you this. I will fight your corner until the bitter end, and I will believe in you, Mr. Natsume. Oh, benevolent look up to Mr. Natsume, Esquire. You're not alone here with us, Mr. Natsume. Whatever happens, we will always be on your side. Oh, benevolent non-locum assistant Miss Mikotaba Esquires. I am in your debt forever. I shall never forget this great kindness for as long as I live. Mr. Natsume, counsel for defense. The court session is about to begin. Kindly make your way to the courtroom at once. I have no eyes or soul. All right then, Mr. Natsume. It's time. Let's go. Yes! He has very defined teeth. This is it. My second appearance in a British courtroom, and my second trial against the Reaper. I hope you're watching over me, Kazuma. Because this time, I won't let my faith waver. I'll just believe in my client to the last. Just like you believed in me. I believe I can do this now. I'm ready for this fight. We have no evidence. At all. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. I now call upon the counsels for the prosecution and defense to declare their willingness to proceed. Prosecution is fully prepared, my lord. The defense is ready, my lord. The Nipponese are a truly fascinating breed. Sorry, what? Lord Strongcar has told me all about you. That you are a student who arrived in London but 2 days ago, a mere amateur. Do you have a point? Being a compatriot, you feel compelled to try to help the accused, I suppose. Typical Nipponese arrogance. Typical racisms! Forgive me, but I do not believe arrogance is an appropriate description. Susato-san? After all, at our previous encounter, the defendant was found to be innocent. Very true, and a most fascinating, if dark, trial it was too. The tragic conclusion came later, of course. Here's to the acquitted, and his unfortunate, violent end. Thank you, counsels. I see both sides are in fine fettle. Now, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, are you ready to carry out your duties here in court as impartial members of the public? You never know when you might be down your luck, but I believe in fair play for everyone. Well, I must warn you, I'm rather more ruthless than I appear. Oh well, not me. Oh, what you see is what you get. I'm a peace-loving fellow. I'm afraid to say I think it's quite possible that mustache foreigner did the deed. Come on, what are we waiting for? No doubt he did it anyway. Sorry, didn't quite catch that. Very well, let's proceed. Your opening statement, if you please, Lord Van Zeeks. Very recently, Great Britain signed an alliance with a rising power in the Far East. The accused in the dock today is a student from that same land, a certain Mr. Soseki Natsume. And while our country has extended this foreign student the warmest of welcomes, regrettably, the kindness has not been returned. In fact, this student is accused of the most sinister act. Of plunging a knife into the back of an innocent woman who is doing nothing but walking down the street. A knife crime? I tell you from bitter experience, those are the worst. Bloody oath they are. Just look at that sallow complexion and short stature. some of this dreadful Japanese. Okay, actually like, dude, these people are so racist, it's not funny. Come on, let's get this over with. With me now, everyone. 1, 2, 3. Sorry? Didn't quite catch that. Pray, we get the discourse here smashing my hollow chalice here in this great chamber. Allow me to call the first witness to the stand. Very well. Bailiff, lead the inspector in, please. Your name and occupation, please. Yes, sir. Tobias Gregson, Detective Inspector of Scotland Yard. Would you please summarize the events of the case for the court, Inspector? The victim is thought to be a young woman in her 20s by the name of Olive Green. I beg your pardon, Inspector? Thought to be? Yes, having been stabbed in the back by her attacker's knife, victim fell unconscious. That was 3 days ago now, and she's been comatose ever since. What? So you don't even know who she is for sure? Comatose, I see. But her life is not in danger. Fortunately for the Eastern student, the charge will not be murder. Pray elaborate on the details, Inspector. Sir, if I could ask everyone to look at this street map. As I mentioned, the incident took place 3 days ago at around 5 in the afternoon. It happened on the pavement running alongside Briar Road, a wide thoroughfare for horse-drawn vehicles. Had not long since stopped snowing as the victim, Miss Green, was walking down the street. Out of the blue, she was approached from behind by the accused and stabbed in the back. Luckily, the young lady's life was spared, and she's currently being treated in one of the city's hospitals. But being unconscious as she is, we've been unable to take a statement from her, of course. This is the case file with everything we know about the victim so far. Thank you, Inspector. The court will accept the documents as evidence, if you please. File containing overview of the case details the victim. She was found with a knife in her back and is currently in the hospital, yet to regain consciousness. What of the weapon that was used? Sir, I have that here. It was removed from the victim's back. Ouch. That big thing is starting to make me scared to walk down the street now. With a heavy blade like that, almost anybody would have been able to stab the poor woman. Even the scragged-looking Sosuke-san, I suppose. A common or garden jackknife, I would say. Rather nondescript. Thank you, Inspector. The court accepts this blade as evidence. Large, complex folding knife is found lodged in the victim's back. Now then, what do we know of the motive? Money or valuables, I presume? From what we can tell by looking at the woman's possessions, it seems like she's a poor student herself. Hard to imagine she would have anything much worth pinching, my lord. I see. Well, in that case, are we looking at some deep-seated resentment toward the victim? I'm afraid I couldn't say. Apart from visiting second-hand bookshops, the defendant, Mr. Natsume, doesn't appear to get out much. At this moment in time, we haven't been able to establish any sort of connection between him and the victim.
Yes!
If the theft and grievance have been ruled out as the motive, what reason could Natsume possibly have had for some of the young woman? Yet you arrested the man in spite of that in a totally unjustified and heavy-handed way.
Objection!
Dude, why? Why did you do that? Pray forgive discouraging and flinging a freshly uncorked bottle into the public gallery. I just imagine someone just got hit in the face. It's like, she's like, F you, dude. You hit me in the face. This man. But your words have soured its hollow bouquet. For it is you, my learned friend, who is being heavy-handed here. What? Scotland Yard does not arrest people without good cause. That should be beyond question. Inspector Gregson, the prosecution calls for your formal testimony. Explain to the court precisely why the constabulary came to arrest the Nipponese student. Yes, sir. As I said, it was 5 o'clock in the afternoon when the incident occurred, and there was unusually light fog. Visibility was reasonably good, and there was no one else about but the victim and the accused. Out of the blue, the victim was stabbed from behind and subsequently collapsed on the pavement. The accused ran off, scattered his belongings all over the floor. Those being a number of old books he just bought. He was on his way home from a bookshop, it seems. It's just a matter of working out who the books belonged to, and we found the bloke to arrest him. Old books, you say? Yes, my lord. I have a photograph here of the scene of the crime, taken immediately after the incident. Ah, yes. I can clearly see the books to which you are referring. I will take that photograph and print as evidence, please, Inspector. Photograph scene taken by policemen just after the incident occurred. A large knife can be seen thrust into the victim's back. You Nipponese are a spineless breed, too cowardly to admit defeat, denying everything despite overwhelming evidence to the contrary. Well, forgive me, Lord Van Zieks, but the defendant is not denying everything, as you put it. What are you doing, Mrs. Sato? Do go on. Mr. Natsume has admitted to playing some part in the incident. Isn't that right, Mr. Nahodo? Well, now that you mention it, when we visited him in the prison yesterday, he did tell us what all happened. As I was walking along that accursed pavement, I could make out the sole silhouette of another ahead of me. A woman, wearing a green overcoat she was, and just as I went to overtake her, she suddenly let out a little scream and collapsed into the cold, hard slabs of stone at my feet. I was terrified. I had to get away from there. So I ran as fast as my legs would carry me back to my accursed lodgings. A green overcoat? Well, that's exactly what the woman in the print was wearing. Oh my, photograph of print in full color. What will the world come up with next? The defendant has done nothing more than admit he fled the scene of a terrifying incident. That does not mean he's guilty of the heinous crime of stabbing the woman in the back. There was nobody else there at the time, just the two of them, the victim and the accused. In other words, there's nobody else who could possibly have stabbed the woman. Don't you have two other witnesses? A fact that the accused concedes. Ugh. Seems this cross-examination could prove to be pivotal, counsel. Proceed, please. Yes, my lord. Nothing for it. I have to use this cross-examination to turn the tables here. It's our only chance. Alright. We're gonna do our usual shtick and pry every statement that we can. Hold it! A light fog, you say? Well, light for London. You can see the opposite side of the street for once. Not much farther, though. That's light, is it? Around these parts? Yes. Not something I expect a Japanese fellow like yourself to know, of course. I'm gonna give that a hard pass. I've read that London is famous for its fog. But in my country, people usually imagine that gives the city a rather beautiful appearance. How quaint. Yes, well, it's not something us Londoners tend to romanticize, as I expect you can appreciate. I see. At this time of year, the fog causes a large number of accidents, especially when it's heavy. Sometimes you can't even see your own hand at the end of your arm. Indeed, the other day I was very nearly trampled by horses before I could see the carriage they were pulling. Ugh. Since that's the sign, I should definitely remember to stop, look, and listen. However, on the day that concerns us, the fog was somewhat lighter than usual. A fact no doubt lamented by the accused. Hold it! How are you able to state that with any certainty? Quite simply, my learned friend, because that is what the witnesses to this crime have told us. What? Okay, so there are other people that were there. Ah, yes, Inspector Gregson mentioned the witnesses yesterday, didn't he? That's right. One of them is a policeman, I believe, from Scotland Yard. That is correct, ma'am. Then we must hear their testimony. Prosecution will, of course, call him to the stand, should it be necessary. But wait a minute. At 5 o'clock in the afternoon in the middle of winter, it would have been dark already. No matter how light the fog might have been, no one could have seen... I'm unaware of the situation on your tiny island in the east. But here in the capital city of Great Britain, all main roads are illuminated by night, in the night by gas streetlights. The prosecution believes there would have been ample light by which to witness the crime. Quite. Here in London, for the first time in history, mankind has completely conquered the darkness. Which means we really need to hear those witness statements. If I could just get through the fog of this cross-examination, maybe we'll be able to. It seems the counsel for the defense is taking stock. Continue with your testimony, Inspector.
Hold it!
From behind, you say? That's right, as you can see from this print. Yes, quite so, Inspector. The handle of the weapon is clearly protruding from the victim's back. And you say this poor woman, Miss Green, remains in critical condition. Comatose, no less? I'm afraid so, my lord, yes. She's being treated at Bart's. I was hopeful that she'd come around before the trial started so I could take a statement, but it wasn't to be. Yes, that is indeed a pity. It would have been most illuminating to hear the victim's own account of events. Luck is on your client's side, it seems. On the contrary, my client has been exceedingly unlucky. Your force of tone is seriously undermined by those disturbingly wide eyes, I'm afraid. Is that a racist? That might be a racism. That's probably a racism. Ugh.
Hold it!
Mr. Natsume's belongings. I think you'll find it's all there in the photographic print of the crime scene. Yes, the 3 books on the floor. That's right, my lord. Second-hand books they were. Irreparably damaged after falling in the snow, of course. The accused could have easily carried all 3 books in one hand. Which means... his other hand would have been free to wield a knife, for example. He's very clever, isn't he? What do you mean? He made it extremely hard for you to assert that Mr. Natsume had his hands full with his books. He managed to close the one avenue of escape we might have had before we even knew it was there. You mean to say that the defendant was holding his belongings as he thrust the knife into the woman's back? That must be what happened, my lord.
Hold it!
The defendant apparently visited a second-hand bookshop on a daily basis. Yes, so I understand. A shop full of old English literature. I commend the accused on the lofty subject matter of his scholarly attention. The bloke's room was stacked floor to ceiling with those musty old books. Can you tell us more about the bookshop in question, please, Inspector? Well, if I must, I have to ask you to look at the street map again, I'm afraid. The closest second-hand bookshop to the accused's lodgings is this place, Bourbon Books. A little place on the corner of Briar Road and Mearsham Street. As it happens, the accused is currently living in lodgings on the other side of Briar Road, at the opposite end. Which means, it doesn't take a genius to work out the route he would have taken home. Something like this. Okay. Yes, I concur with your conclusion, Inspector. The defendant would certainly have passed the scene of the crime on his way home from that particular shop. Mr. Naruhodo, I think that with the that's what the inspector told us, could turn out to be of vital importance. Yes, I agree. The most important point that the inspector just made being... Inspector Gregson, may I ask you a favor? What? Would you kindly add the name of the bookshop to your formal testimony, please? I believe it may be of vital importance. Maybe? Oh, well, you know. I mean, yes. It could be a very important clue. Oh, I think I know what it is. Very well, not that I see it being of any great significance. But please revise your testimony accordingly, Inspector. Yes, sir, my lord. Whatever you say. Could the man be any more sardonic? On his way home from Bourbon Books, a secondhand bookshop apparently patronizes. So, if I'm correct... Yeah, it's your books. That's where he went, so it's not Bourbon Books.
Objection!
Let's do it! If I could just stop you there, Inspector Gregson. What is it, Sunshine? I'm a busy man, you know. This is a receipt that we found in Mr. Natsume's room. It was issued on the day of the incident and details the purchase of 3 secondhand books. And you found that in the accused's room, did you? Yes, but the point is not where the receipt was found, but the name of the shop printed on it. Go on. The receipt was issued from a bookshop called Your Books. Your Books? Y-O-R-E, I presume? Yes, my lord. So, Mr. Natsume did indeed purchase a number of books at a secondhand bookshop that day. However, the bookshop in question was not Bourbon Books. Eh? What? Inspector, do you know of this other bookshop? Yes, sir. Your Books is another secondhand bookshop not far from Bourbon Books. It's just that... Well, it's such a small place, I didn't think the accused would have known about it.
Objection!
But in fact, that is the bookshop which the defendant visited on the day in question. And this receipt proves it.
Objection!
Yes, for what difference does it make? Wherever the man purchased his musty tomes, it makes no difference in the final analysis.
Objection!
I disagree. I mean, after all, I have a street map here, if that might be of help. Oh, yes, thank you. Have a look at this, please. If the defendant had been returned from Bourbon Books, then yes, he would almost certainly pass the place where Miss Green was attacked. However, take into account the fact that he was actually the other bookshop, Your Books, it may very well turn out that he wouldn't have passed the location at all. Could that be true? My, it rather depends on where the other bookshop is, but I do declare it may be a possibility. Is that right, Mr. Lawyer, sir? What you just said? Absolutely. It absolutely could be right. Watch it just be next door or something. Inspector Gregson, where is this Your Books establishment? Well, obviously we looked into that. Turns out that Your Books is just here on the next corner of Murchison Street going east. Local maps information has been updated in the court record. And there you have it, as you can clearly see now. Oh. My learned Nipponese friend is obviously in training to be a clown in the way he regales us with such witticisms. To your future career in the circus. Ugh. You put that glass down now or I'll put it down for you. I didn't think I needed to spell it out, but here we go. The accused was coming home from Your Books instead of Bourbon Books. There's no doubt he still would have passed the place where the victim was stabbed. Yes, thank you, Inspector. Ugh. Couldn't he have just gone the other way, though? Allow me to reiterate for my learned, if somewhat slow, Nipponese friend. Jeez. Wherever the man purchased his musty tomes, it makes no difference in the final analysis. Ah! As I suspected, you can't fool me, and I don't suggest you try. What I say, eh? I've had enough of this now. Beg your pardon? Terribly sorry, but would you mind repeating that? Mr. Naruhodo, you mustn't give up. What do you mean? The prosecution's assertion is correct. The members of the jury may well decide that Mr. Natsume is guilty. She's absolutely right. We must think. We must consider the assertion just put forward by the prosecution very, very carefully. It claims Sasuke-san must have passed the location of the incident on his way home from your books, but... the assertion just made by the prosecution is fundamentally flawed. Explain yourself, counsel. Yes, my lord. You can see what I mean on this map. When returning from your books to his lodgings, Mr. Natsume could have followed the route suggested by the prosecution. However, that isn't the only conceivable route to take between the two places. If the defendant used the streets, look what happens. He arrives back at his lodgings without passing the location where the victim was attacked.
Objection!
Talking back to a clown is a fool's errand, of course. However, I feel compelled to point out that that route is what is commonly referred to as the long way around. On a cold winter's night, why would any man choose to take a longer route home? Well, the answer is extremely simple. He wouldn't. In other words, the accused took the obvious route back to his lodgings, and is the obvious perpetrator of this crime.
Objection!
But, yes, I've got it. Obviously, we must ask the man himself. Ask Mr. Natsume which route he took home. I've already informed the court of the accused's response to such questioning. He claims he has no recollection. That's right. As I said, the bloke seemed to spend his time outside wandering aimlessly from A to B. That day was no exception. He says he doesn't remember where he was or which route he took home. I don't believe this! I thank you, my learned friend, and suggest that we do not waste any more of the court's time by wandering aimlessly around this subject. Pray, what say you insightful jurors? But even if that is the case, the defense still... I agree with Lord Van Zeeks. Wholeheartedly, and in every way. What? I don't believe it. Does this mean... we members of the jury are completely convinced now? Very well. In that case, I hereby call upon all members of the jury to present your findings to the court.
Guilty!
Guilty.
Guilty!
Guilty.
Guilty! Guilty!
Ah, jeez. It would appear the jury's leaning is unanimous. To the insightful members of the jury, I applaud your brave resolve. You served Queen and country admirably. Mr. Naruhodo. No, not yet. This isn't over yet. I still have one last chance to sway the opinion of the jury. I have to tip the balance of those scales the other way. I have to turn this around. Somehow. Those are the eyes of Query, not yet willing to give up and die. So I presume you intend to wield your rights again in this trial? Rights of the defense written into the antiquated British law that should have been buried long ago? Call it antiquated if you will, but it's the defense's prerogative to carry out a summation examination if it so chooses. Very well, counsel. In accordance with the letter of the law, we shall proceed with the summation examination. Are the members of the jury ready, Mr. Foreman? Of course we're ready. I'm all too familiar with that Nepalese whippersnapper and his uncas refusal to throw in his alley. Very well then. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you will each explain on what grounds you determined the defendant to be guilty. For pity's sake, that little Nepalese oddity already admitted it himself, didn't he? He said that a woman in green collapsed before his eyes. Why can it only have been a victim? The man wouldn't have gone around the houses on his way back from the bookshop, not in winter. So the poor woman was attacked from behind, was she? How dreadful. I really don't care. Can't we just wrap this up now? I've got work to be doing. Your books, yes. Nice shop, that. But bourbon books? No, not worth a visit. Why not? Only minor exceptions. The reasons for finding the defendant guilty are all too clear. When the stabbing occurred, the only two people at the scene were the victim and the accused. And the accused himself had admitted to seeing the victim in her green overcoat sink to the ground before his eyes. Furthermore, we have heard from the inspector that the defendant then fled the scene. I must say, I would have ample grounds to convict this man already. Oh dear, even the judge appears convinced of Mr. Natsume's guilt now. Ugh, why did he have to run away like that? And how are we supposed to believe in some phantom attacker that nobody could see? This is impossible. How could I possibly make a case for the defense? Mr. Narahodo, this is no time for grumbling. If we want to force the trial to continue... Yes, I know. I have to turn the tide. I must make the jurors change their minds. Well, 4 of them at least. Exactly. We have no choice but to forge forward. You have the floor, counsel. Begin your summation examination. Yes, my lord. I just need to keep this trial going somehow. Whatever it takes. Come on, Ryunosuke. You can do it! Alright. I'm just gonna press.
Hold it!
Excuse me, but... Aren't you... Yes, that's right. I was in the witness stand myself just 2 days ago. Yes, I had a feeling I knew your face. Well, the side of it, anyway. If I remember correctly, you're a banker, aren't you? That's right. After the gold rush down under, I came back to London to work. And it was going swimmingly until you started fossicking around. Bruce Fairplay was a man of repute. Sorry? Don't think I've forgotten how you treated me the other day. You had me and that hatter pegged as criminals. Oh, well, you know, under the bridge. Now there's all sorts of rumors buzzing around, and the police have been badgering me non-stop. If I could turn back the clock... Well, anyway, I don't know about the hatter, but at least I'm in the clear now. I'm free to make up my own mind about who's guilty and who isn't. Ha! Thank goodness. Alright, maybe I might struggle to change this man's mind given our awkward history. Oh dear, I wonder what's become of Mr. First now.
Hold it!
You're right at the time of the incident. The defendant admits to having seen someone wearing a green overcoat walking ahead of him. Well, quite. That's precisely my point. Clearly, that someone wearing green was the victim. And clearly, that funny little Nipponese man with the disturbing mustache is the culprit. But let us not forget, madam, the defendant vehemently denies attacking the woman. Why, of course he does. If he admits to stabbing her, his life is over. The man is obviously a liver-faced coward, honestly, claiming the woman simply collapsed before his eyes. But if that's a lie, as you're suggesting, do you not think he would have concocted something more credible? Well, I really couldn't say. After all, you are foreign. Who's to say what goes through your funny little minds? I can tell you what's going through my funny little mind right now, but you wouldn't like it. I do declare the man has already made the admission. He himself has stated that there was nobody else around. Surely the conclusion is obvious. No one else could possibly have committed this awful crime. Ugh. No one else could have done it. The accused must be the man. Really, it couldn't be more simple. Your argument is compelling in its simplicity, I must admit. Oh my, you're too kind, my lord. That went well, for her.
Hold it!
But you can't deny that there are other routes Mr. Natsume could have taken back from your books. Oh yes, like you drew on the map, you mean? What was it? Calabash Road or something? Precisely. But it seems to me that's what counts, is whether the Japanese fellow actually went that way or not. Well, yes, that's true. And at that moment, there's no proof that shows he did, is there? Well, yes, that's true as well. And as I understand it, the accused himself doesn't remember which way he went, does he? Well, yes, that's annoyingly true. Winter nights are dark and cold, so the way I see it, you'd want to get home as quickly as possible. Well, yes. Why is all this true? So really, the only thing that makes sense is that he went home along Briar Road. Ah, I'm supposed to be convincing you here. I've given it a lot of thought, you know. I didn't just make up my mind on a whim that he did it. I mean, if there was some logical reason why he might have gone through Calabash Road, that would be different. I'd be happy to reconsider my position in that case. Honest, I would. Reason why Suzuki-san might have taken the long way home. Yes, a good reason. I don't imagine you'll be able to sway this young man's opinion with that one. I seriously doubt that's it. We'll see. Really don't care. Can we just wrap this up now? I got work to be doing.
Hold it!
I want to see this one. A man's life is on the line here, sir. This will take as long as it takes. Don't get clever with me now, son. My life's on the line too. So is my family's. Ah. The likes of you wouldn't understand, but a laborer like me can't afford to take time off. If I don't work, I don't eat, and neither do the wife and kids. Oh, I see. That must be very hard. I got to the union every morning to find out what needs doing. If you're late and the work's taken, it's tough. This time of year, there's water and gas supply pipes bursting left and right and center. They're after cheap labor to get the roads dug up to fix it. It's a hard slog from dawn till dusk, it is. So, you were out digging up roads on the day of the incident as well, were you? That's right. In fact, if I remember rightly, it's just around the corner from where it all happened. By the old bookshop it was. What? Another coincidence? That's right. Mersham Street was. Mersham Street. On the map, Mr. Naruhodo, there are only 3 named streets. Juror number 5, I need you to add the information to your formal statement, please. What's the point of that? Can't we just get this business over with now? Please, sir, it's important. Fine, I'll do it then. On the day it happened, I was digging at Mersham Street from dawn till dusk. Alright. So if I think it's these two we need to pit against each other. Those 2 statements are clear at odds with one another. At odds, counsel? Explain yourself. Please, don't point. It wasn't me, I swear. What? I just want to get this done and dusted. Well, juror number 3. Oh, me, sir? What do you mean? Juror number 5's words just now are extremely significant. Let's take a moment to consider the implications of what's been said on our map of the local area. On the day in question, Mr. Natsume visited this bookshop to purchase a number of secondhand books. And on the same day, we now know that there were works being carried out on Murchison Street, making it impassable. Which means the defendant's route home could not have taken him along Murchison Street and down Briar Road. Oh yes, of course! What do you think, sir? Well, yes, you can't argue with that really, can you? We must have had a good 2 yards or more of pavement up. Every gentleman and gentlewoman that came along had to turn back and go the other way. So, the only conclusion is this. The defendant must have taken the longer road back to his lodgings. Yes, I suppose he must have. I suppose that must be right, eh? Juror number 3, you said the following. The man wouldn't have gone around the houses on his way back from the bookshop. But we see now that he had no choice. Yes! My lord, Mr. Judge, sir, if I may? Yes? I don't think in all good conscience I can say the man's guilty now. Yes, I'd like to see his trial continue so we can get to the bottom of what really happened. What about you, sir? Who, me? Well, alright then. If there's a hole in the prosecution's argument, it should be filled in, that's what I say. His priorities are a little inconvenient, but he's got a good heart. I like him. Oh well done, Mr. Nahodo, that was wonderful. Well, we've managed to change a couple minds at least, to strain their position somewhat. Yes, and it will prompt the other members of the jury to reconsider their stance as well. They'll be asking themselves if their current leanings are really right or not. Now, if only we could just identify one more clue or discrepancy that would make them stop doubting Mr. Natsume. We might be able to tip the balance completely. Yes, that's exactly what we've got to do. Van Seitz is looking to bring this trial to an early conclusion. That's what we have to prevent, but whatever means we have at our disposal. Thank you, counsel. On with the summation examination, please. Yes, my lord. Okay. So, I want to press this guy. Your books, nice shop that, but burn books, not worth a visit.
Hold it!
Sorry. Fold it, you say? Fold what? No. What I said was hold it. What I wanted to ask was, do you visit your books often? I like the old books they have in there, yes. I enjoy reading them over a nice cup of old tea. That's my daily routine, you see. Same thing every day, including the day you're all talking about. And at what time did you visit your books on the day in question? Well, I was picking out books in there all afternoon, and it would have been just before 5 that I left. That's my daily routine, you see. Same thing every day, including the day you're all talking about. Just before 5, you say. Exactly when the victim was attacked. Are you sure about the time? Oh yes, no mistake there. I remember it well. I'm not about to forget that day in a hurry. Not after the dreadful time I had. What do you mean? Well, I was walking down Calabash Road when I slipped on the ice and dunked my head. Oh, it's always worse after snow stuff falling. That's when it's most slippery. Knocked myself clean out, I did. Really thought my number was up. Wait a minute. Let me get this straight. This happened on Calabash Road? That's right. I live in Cornpipe, you see. Heading down Calabash Road is the quickest way for me to get back from your books. Juror number 6, I must insist. that you add the information to your formal statement may very well be extremely significant. Sorry? Extremely sick? No, I'm quite alright now. You changed 2 of the jurors' minds, Ms. Naruhodo. Yes, just 2 more to go. Deliver the finishing blow now. It's time to turn tables here. Wish I knew how to do this without a takedown. Suppose words will have to suffice for now. Okay, let's see. Okay, I think I know what it is now. So we need to pit her against him.
Objection.
Those two statements clearly show a flaw in the juror's reasoning. A flaw? What are you talking about, counsel? Well, juror number 2, juror number 6. Whatever do you mean, sir? I think perhaps the old man didn't hear you. Unbelievable. It's not like I was loud or anything. There is at least one fact of which we can be sure here. The bookshop receipt found in the defendant's room clearly indicates that on the day of the attack, he had been to your books and purchased a number of second-hand titles. He then returned home on foot. But the man says he has no recollection of his return journey. That's correct. But what he does remember is seeing someone appear in front of him on the way. Someone in a green overcoat who suddenly collapsed on the pavement before his eyes. Yes, we are all well aware of this. The poor young woman who was stabbed, obviously.
Objection.
Can we really be sure of that, madam? My, whatever do you mean? I'm sure you heard juror number 6's account of what happened to him that day. That same afternoon, there was somebody else apart from the victim who was wearing a green overcoat and who fell over on the icy streets in the neighborhood. Oh my! My goodness, you mean... That's right. I'm referring, of course, to the hard of hearing juror number 6. Are you really suggesting that the person in the green overcoat whom the defendant saw collapse in front of his eyes was the jolly old gentleman at the end of the bench here with me today? That's entirely possible, yes. After all, the old man has a somewhat similar build to the victim. Well, look at that. My goodness me. Sorry? You need a pee? And crucially, we know precisely where the old man in the green overcoat fell. On Calabash Road. Therefore, if the person who Mr. Natsume saw collapsing in front of him was in fact juror number 6, it means the defendant must have taken the long route back to his lodgings. And if that's true, then clearly the crime scene on Briar Road where the woman was stabbed was not on his way home. Oh my! Aw yeah, we're awesome. You idiot old man, if you hadn't been so daft as to be roaming about there, we'd have been boxed this off hours ago. And really, what were you thinking wearing such a befuddling coat? What did you say to me? Is that a crime for the elderly to walk the streets these days? Is it a crime to slip over on the ice? Is it a crime to keep up with the latest styles and wear a beautiful green overcoat, is it? My lord, I do hope it won't cause any inconvenience, but you'd like to change your leaning, I presume? I do declare that I would. I should like to call for a verdict of not guilty. Thank you. And I would too. What? Is it a crime to change your mind? Is it? Well... Well, that summation examination has concluded with a rather large shift in opinion. The eyes 2, the nose 4. So the nose have it. Not guilty, they say. Which means we no longer have a consensus among the members of the jury. The trial will continue.
Objection.
Could it seem churlish of me to drink from my hollow chalice moments after raising an objection? Only to crush in disgust? Pray forgive the discourtesy. Lord Van Zeeks? It seems I must retract my earlier remark. What do you mean? I mistakenly credited these jurors with intelligence by describing them as insightful. Yet we have just witnessed them falling for a cheap trick performed by an Eastern entertainer. Eh? Whatever do you mean?
Objection.
I haven't tricked anyone. Everything I've said is the truth. Indeed, stalwart juror number 5 was undoubtedly repairing the road, as he claims. I believe you said it was a good 2 yards of the pavement which you had excavated, sir? That's right. Took me the whole day and they paid me a measly tuppence for it. Now, my learned Nipponese friend, tell me. Do you have any notion of the distance that 2 yards represents? Well... Honest, I don't have a clue, no. 2 yards is a little less than 2 meters. Less than 2 meters? That's not much at all. In other words, a distance readily vaulted by anyone of moderate vigor. Would you not agree, my stalwart friend? Eh? Me? Well, I can't say you're wrong, no. What? And did you perchance erect a sign to prevent pedestrians from passing the site of your works? I wouldn't dream of it. What a waste of time. No coaches would have had hopes of passing anyway, and we just turn any gentlefolk back when they can. Kids jump right over us all the time. The accused is no gentleman as far as I can see. I have little doubt, however, that he could spring over a 2-yard trench in his meanderings around town. Is that true? Is it? The incontrovertible truth is that the books just purchased by the accused were found at the scene. There can be no doubt on his way back to his lodgings, Mr. Natsume walked down Briar Road. Ugh. Crush in a single sentence. And, old man. Cold man? You can talk? You say that at around 5 o'clock on the day of the question, you slipped and fell on Calabash Road. Pray, was there a suspicious-looking Nipponese behind you at the time? Oh, I can't say as I remember. You don't remember? How about a wager, my learned friend? You say it was this old man that the accused saw, but I would lay 1,000 to 1 against you being able to prove it. Ah! Order! Order! Lord Van Zeeks, explain yourself. My lord, if you had such a trenchant argument up your sleeve, why in the world did you not proffer it during the summation examination? I want to give this young foreign student the sightseeing experience he no doubt came for. I wanted him to see for himself how the opinion of the jury is so readily swayed. But my hospitality has its limits, and they have been reached, I feel. So, my learned friend, today's sightseeing tour of London is now over. What are you talking about? My lord, the prosecution requests permission to call its next witnesses to the stand. Granted. Bailiff, bring forth the witnesses. Its next witnesses? Sonato, do you not remember? We've been told on several occasions that there were eyewitnesses to the incident. Yes, I remember. One of them being a Scotland Yard policeman, no less. I'm afraid that's likely to be the prosecution's next witness. Alright. No matter who Van Zeeks brings to the stand as his witnesses, and no matter what they say, I believe in Soseki-san. I know he's innocent. And I'll keep believing to the very end, until this battle is over.